couple of weeks ago, Rahu moved into Aquarius and Ketu moved into Leo. And this 18-month transit signals a huge shift in innovation, in leadership, and our collective consciousness. So during this time, you can expect big disruptions of old structures, old ways of doing things, of thinking, and the emergence of new paradigms. So Aquarius is all about innovation. It's about technology, social change. It's about rebellion and humanitarianism. And wherever Rahu goes, he tends to bring disruption. He likes to challenge wherever he goes. And so in Aquarius, Rahu's going to be challenging traditions, and he'll be fueling unconventional movements and a revolutionary type attitude. So you may find during the next 18 months that there's a rise in interest in communities, in spiritual communities, online communities, and any interest-based communities that reject the status quo. And while that's really great, and I think it's a great step, we have to also be a little bit careful, because Rahu is a shadow. He's the point where eclipses occur, and so he can create illusions. So just beware of what kind of communities you're involved in. Make sure they're grounded in truth, that they're not deceptive or cult-like, and that they have that grounding in truth and kindness. AI and technology are going to continue to evolve rapidly, and so that's already making huge societal shifts, and those are going to continue. And while the benefits of AI are real, and I think everyone should use it and experiment with it and use it to solve problems, there's also risks associated with it, including a greater tendency towards isolation, over dependence on technology for creating and so on, and a loss of our humanity as well, as we kind of become more machine-like as we use these technologies so frequently. But this is it's a great time for visionaries, for entrepreneurs, for rebels of all kinds, and for creators to use this time, use this energy, and use the technology that we have available to us to increase your quality of output, your quantity of output, and to solve those problems that take place within your life and business. Rahu challenges the norms, the status quo, and empowers the collective over the elite structures, which brings us to Ketu moving into Leo. Ketu again is a shadow. He's the south node of the moon, and he moves into Leo, which is all about ego and power and leadership and fame and authority, right? It's all about leadership and royalty and bosses and those sorts of things, prime ministers, presidents. And Ketu's tendency is to detach, to sever, to cut. And so leaders during this time, if they are too ego involved, if they are too Leo-like, too authoritarian, they may find that they lose power, or that they get the chop or face backlash from that Aquarian energy that's going around at the moment. So it's a period that's about detaching from the ego and detaching from our need for recognition and need to dominate and be famous. There'll likely be a growing disillusionment with the whole idea of fame and recognition. We might find that some famous people just leave the spotlight, or people who were working towards fame lose interest in it and become interested in something more meaningful than just becoming famous for the sake of it. Because there's this shift from outward recognition to inner power, right? And from outward material growth to spiritual growth. That's what Ketu asks of us. So creators of all kinds may focus less on being seen and gaining approval, and more on how can I do something which is helpful and contribute meaningfully to the collective, right? Because we want to balance Rahu and Ketu in our chart and by transit. And so the balance here is about balancing our ego, our own inner power, our own need for recognition, versus the collective good. What is best for humanity? What is best for all of us? Rahu shows what we're drawn to. Ketu shows what we're detaching from. So we're detaching from the Leo aspect, the authoritarianism, hierarchy, power, and we are drawn more towards Rahu, which in this case is representing that humanitarian outlook. So this is a time to balance the ego with service to the collective. And you can use that on a personal level as well, to balance your own ego with how can I serve, and to ask that question. Not what can I do in my life to benefit me and to make more money and to improve my life, but how can I help? How can I contribute meaningfully? And another really helpful question is, what is trying to happen through me? What is trying to happen here? Rather than focusing on what your needs are and your desires, try to focus on what's trying to happen. You know, Aquarius is represented by the water bearer. So it's like that cup of water, pouring a cup of water. And that represents receiving divine inspiration and using that in a way which you can pour onto the earth, into your material life, onto humanity. So receiving inspiration and using that in a meaningful way. That's a big part of what Aquarius is about. And so asking that question, what is trying to happen here? What's trying to happen through me? Is a powerful way of approaching this next 18 months. Choose collaboration over individualism. This isn't a time to go it alone or to be a hero and to do everything on your own. This is a good time to ask for help and to build community in doing that. So in terms of social and political trends, it feels that we might be moving away from authoritarian types of government and moving more towards a libertarian, humanitarian. And, you know, there are quiet rebellions brewing around, especially here in the UK. We've had these crackdowns on free speech where people have been like dragged out of their homes and put in prison for things that they've written on social media, which is quite a big step really in terms of that government authoritarianism. And these people have said things online which are certainly less than pleasant, but feels like a long stretch to put someone in prison for 3 years for something they said on social media. So that's that kind of Leo governmental control, which is probably going to be challenged during this time. The Labour government in the UK has also gone back on some of the Brexit agreements, which has led to certain people feeling betrayed. And so there's an air of revolution. There's a feeling of discontent here in the UK. I'm not sure how it is in the US. Probably some similar stuff going on. But here we've got silent protests going on. There are people refusing to pay their bills and their council tax and their TV license because they see it as resisting the elite profiteering that seems to be going on. And so there's this public discontent which seems to be growing, and I suspect will continue to grow as we demand more humanitarian leadership. So it feels like the energy is shifting from top-down control to more people-powered change. So this is a time of big change on a collective level and on a personal level. And this is a powerful opportunity for soul growth through service to other people and detachment from your own ego. So it'd be good to reflect based on your birth chart, what areas of your life are impacted by Leo and Aquarius, which is where Rahu and Ketu are right now. So if you know your ascendant, post it in the comments and I'll let you know which areas of life are impacted by this transit. So I hope that's helpful. And in conclusion, you can ask yourself this next 18 months, how can I balance my own need for power and approval with service to the greater good? How can I serve? So do remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.